Now this was a very specific question about not all of the Yalta and Potsdam Conference, but what the USSR and Yalta gained from Yalta and Potsdam. So as ever, you know, to look at your answer, and you got to think it's a little bit different here. One thing they gained was, and another thing they gained was, because what does the question say? What did they gain? Or maybe one thing the USSR gained would have been even better. Specialist-specific own knowledge, see below, as always. Connectives, have you used any of these or anything similar? Because otherwise you're not explaining yourself fully. And paragraph to show multi-causal answer. Well, yes, although you need to do less for this question than you would have done the other two, because it's only a 4 marker. So this stuff will be very, very useful. And you know, you might get a question similar to this that is 8 marks. So you always need to look at how many marks it's worth. So let's have a look at some of the evidence. Right, what did the USSR gain? Well, they got an agreement from the Allies that they could have a sphere of influence, whatever the heck that meant. Because nobody actually defined what sphere of influence actually meant. They got more reparations than the other nations, which is what they wanted, and this is largely as a result of the 25 to 27 million Soviet war dead from the Second World War. We've mentioned that before. Now, they also wanted land from Poland. Remember we saw on a map how the Soviet Union took land from Poland in the east, and in return Poland got land from Germany in the west, and Poland effectively moved from there on the map to there on the map as a result of this. And they wanted land from Poland. The Western Allies didn't want them to have it, but there's not much choice because the Red Army was in Poland and the Soviets did as they pleased. They got a zone of Germany, and what I could have also written there is and of Berlin, to occupy and control. And because they got this agreement on a sphere of influence, whatever the heck that means, they got the chance / the freedom to establish the buffer zone that they'd wanted in the Eastern Europe because of this agreement on sphere of influence. Now, I realise I keep saying whatever that means. It was vague. The agreement on what a sphere of influence was very vague. It meant that you could have influence in those areas. And so the West got one in Western Europe and the Soviets got one in Eastern Europe. But what does that actually mean, that you can influence those areas? That's the point I'm trying to make. And there's a point, this is why it was vague, it was a weakness, they agreed it. And then they complained when the Soviets took over Eastern Europe, effectively, and installed governments that were communist. Anyway, that's what the USSR gained from the Yalta and Potsdam Conference. Your answer could be a bit shorter for this one. However, in the purpose of this classroom practice, it's good to keep in this idea of these skills and getting as much of this in as you can. If you're missing any of that, pop it in your green pen. There we go.